so much for having me. It's so fun to be back. I haven't been back since 1975. I know, to you guys that really sounds old. But congratulations, everybody. It's just, you're such an accomplished group. I don't remember my graduating class being quite that accomplished, but I'm so happy for you all. It's great to be back at Notre Dame. Last time I sat out there in one of those seats at my graduation, it was 1975. The Vietnam War was just ending. Saturday Night Live was just beginning. And the first disposable razor was sold. Thank God. I loved going to an all-girls school. It's weird looking back on it now that I write historical fiction, but I really did not like history class before I arrived here. I transferred from a public school where the male teacher I had, a perfectly nice man, taught history from his point of view, mostly dates and war logistics and artillery. It thrilled the male students in my class, but not me. Then I came here, and I had a woman history teacher for the first time. She let us in on the female perspective of it all, the mindset of the people and their everyday situations, and suddenly I loved history. I loved English too, and wrote up a storm here, but it was over all too soon and time to graduate. After college, I worked in advertising for 10 years, then retired to raise our 3 children. I stayed in my Fairfield, Connecticut suburb comfort zone of golf and tennis and volunteering on fundraisers, shuttling my children to activities. I knew something was missing, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And then one day in 2000, after my mother passed away, I was feeling blue, and my husband said, "Why don't you go up to that house that you've always wanted to go see?" And he was talking about the Bellamy Faraday House and Gardens, which is about an hour north of there in Bethlehem, Connecticut. It's the former summer home of the wealthy Faraday family from Manhattan, which socialite Caroline Faraday inherited from her parents. It's now a museum. I carried a magazine clipping about the house around for weeks. The title of it, Caroline's Incredible Lilacs. Just looking at that clipping gave me a little trill of excitement. It showed a picture of Caroline, a beautiful young Broadway actress, and her lovely Federal-style white clapboard home and mounds of purple lilacs. I wanted to see the incredible gardens there, full of lilacs from around the world, but I hesitated. Did I really want to walk around a musty old house all afternoon? Well, I did go up to Bethlehem and was the only one on the tour of Caroline's house that day. I learned how she worked at the French consulate raising money for orphan children of French resistance fighters, and helped start the first Black-owned bank in Harlem, and came by her generous bent from a long line of Massachusetts philanthropists, the Woolsey women, staunch abolitionists. At the end of the tour, on the upstairs landing, they have Caroline's desk set up just as she left it, her old Remington manual typewriter there, and her pictures of Charles de Gaulle and Napoleon. But I was drawn to a smaller photo of 30 or so women. "Who's that?" I asked the docent. "Oh, they called them the Rabbits," she said, "Polish Catholic high school girls, experimented on by Nazi doctors at Ravensbrück, Hitler's only all-female concentration camp. The doctors operated on their legs and introduced glass and dirt and gangrene cultures into their wounds to test the efficacy of sulfa drugs. The girls that survived hopped about the camp on their disfigured legs. That's why the Nazis nicknamed them the Rabbits. Many of the Rabbits went home to Poland after the war, still very sick, and some way worse off under Stalin. With little medicine in the late 1950s, Caroline Faraday fought the Soviet Union to bring those women out from behind the Iron Curtain to America for medical care. When I left to drive home that afternoon, I couldn't get Caroline Faraday's story out of my head. Talk about a woman with a heart as wide as the world. We have so few women to look up to in this country, especially such a kind, generous one, and how could her story just get lost? Though it felt a little weird to be obsessing over the life of a woman who'd passed away 10 years before, who I never even knew, I started going up to the house and researching Caroline in the archives. Not to write about her, I didn't even think about that. I just wanted to learn about her. I found that Caroline, a fellow Protestant,